gentlemen, welcome to episode 115 of the MTB podcast, presented and hosted by Worldwide Cyclery. I am Jared.
My name is Yef.
My name's Liam.
We are back in the studio. Jared is back with us.
That's right.
We're going to be back on a roll of doing podcasts every couple of weeks, optimistically. And we're here. For a while, we're all there for a little over a week, or whole week. We were in Whistler. Yeah. We rode Whistler, Pemberton, Squamish, with Chasing Epic, guided mountain bike tours. That was awesome. That was a really fun trip. And yeah, I had a great time. Did you enjoy yourself, Jared?
Had absolute time of a life. Lifetime? Time of a life, yeah.
Time of a life.
Time of a life.
Liam, time of a life as well?
Yeah. I had a time of life. I mean, it's hard to not have the time of the life when you're in British Columbia.
Yeah.
Riding bikes in, summer.
They just nurture you so well there. They just give you good bike trails and good food and good drink.
Yeah.
And then you leave.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm blown away at the trails there.
Yeah.
And the amount of man-made trails that are built really well with a lot of intention and, just details, and it's just cool. And so many
well
people seem to chip into that work there. It's amazing.
Say the community surrounding each zone seems just so solid, especially in Squamish. Trails everywhere, like spider webs of trails. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, we have races every Tuesday and, dig days every month.
Barbecue days. Like all these different things that the trail community organizes.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Around us, it's like, you want a new trail? Too bad.
Yeah.
You want a trail for mountain biking? Nope, too bad.
Too bad.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow.
Remember, Jared, when you reached out to the local trail network, Costco?
Never forget.
And offered them free labor and money, and they denied.
Yeah. You know what else is crazy is just like the stark contrast. We just came back from this sick trip, and then we we come down to Backbone, like our favorite trail, and they're just taking a bulldozer down it. Oh yeah, you want a corner there? Too bad. Nice and soft, loose.
Well, stop what you're saying, because it's actually gonna be better.
It will be eventually.
Yeah,
but they could. It's like
Jared's emotionally angry in the moment.
Still very salty about the whole situation. It's kind of how you have to fix
a trail, though.
Well, yeah, I 100% agree.
Do they do it the wrong time of year? Yeah, of course. You don't do that in middle of summer.
Well,
however,
it's
good trail work. They just did the wrong time of year.
And I also saw that they had this huge water tank up top, and I very naively thought, oh, maybe they'll use some of that water to pack it down or put it in some corners. Oh no, that would be way too nice to
a little discombobulated.
And then it's like, up in Squamish got a new loamer every couple of weeks. And
it's like every 2 weeks they have a new loamer.
It's like, oh man, cool guys.
They do it well. I mean, they have, I think, was it Sorba, the name of the Squamish off-road something, or is that what it was called?
I don't know.
But they literally have the signs kind of around the trail network there that has that trail network, and it says, donate to help the cause, help us build trails, go to Trail Forks, Trail Karma. It's like, yeah, this is amazing. They make it clear and obvious. Hey, you're riding our trails. Please thank us. This is how you can help us. I mean, it's just well done. It's super impressive. I like riding bikes in Canada for that exact reason.
Some of those signs were pretty fun. I think one of them said something like, are you climbing with that heavy weight of your conscience? Please feel free to donate to the trail organization.
I didn't notice that one. That's good.
A good one.
Yeah, there's always, every time I'm in Canada, I'm always laughing at the names of the trails.
They're so good.
They're just creative hilariousness.
I think that's so kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
These trail names would just get wild.
Yeah.
You got any funny trail names locally?
Some of them I can't even say on the podcast. Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, there's a couple in Rocky Peak, but official trail names locally that are marked.
Well, official?
That are funny.
Or are they on Trail Forks?
Marked?
Yeah, there's a sign.
We don't even have those.
There's some signs out there.
Oh, barely, yeah. None that are funny or even cool handmade wooden carvings and
definitely not
hand painted nothing like that.
Bureaucracy is not helping the cause of many.
We did have the golf ball trail, which was about as close, in terms of fun and little.
Yeah, it got torn down.
Yeah, exactly.
In 4 weeks.
In 4 weeks because it was not officially approved, and then they spent who knows how much money to send people out there to throw and destroy the entire trail.
It's so backwards,
and cut out more chaparral, which they're worried about.
Yeah,
in the first place. Yeah,
it's just so backwards.
Well, let's get back on track.
Let's not gripe about the local trail.
We also get me riled up this whole time.
We also left Jared in Whistler for a week. He slept in, and we were like, "Dude, we're out. We're Jeff and I had a flight to make, and we left Jared in Canada." So
Yep.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it went great.
Everything was good.
Did
you ride after?
I rode.
Weren't you going to ride the?
I rode the day
Vancouver
you guys left, but couldn't make Vancouver Island happen just because of the logistics. Originally, it was supposed to be 2-hour drive across the island from when we were staying, but that road was closed, so there's a detour that ended up leading like a 5-hour drive. So it was just, cutting it too close to go for a ride over there on the island.
And the word on the street is you're engaged?
Yeah, true? That's correct, okay. Yeah. Yes, she did say yes. Everybody was asking.
I said that on the last podcast. I was like, "Oh, Jared's in Canada asking a girl to marry him," and Taylor was like, "What if Paige hears that? Like, when is this podcast going out?" Or like, she was like, all worried about it. I was like, "No, I said that after."
Yeah,
the record date was even asked after he asked, and whatever. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. Kind of people came out.
Valid. I didn't really even consider that, so it's good thing I didn't mess that up.
No, it's pretty funny. A couple people just came out of the woodwork like, "Yeah, I heard you're getting married." And I'm like, "What are you?" I was just like kind of off my phone a lot of time. Like, "What are you talking about?" And then like Matt Bradley, he's like, "Hey man, you're getting married. I'm proud of you, man." And I was like, "Thanks, man." Like,
a lot of funny comments about predictions of how many kids you're gonna have in how many years and things like that.
That one guy said I was gonna have like 8 kids. And I'm like, dude, give me a break, dude. Give me some time. Like, man, I cannot afford 8 kids. Can't even afford 1 kid right now, let alone 8.
Yeah, especially with Bean taking up all your time and money.
Yeah,
Bean the cat.
Bean the cat, man.
You gonna take Bean the cat to Italy?
Oh, I wish. She would really love it there.
So that is the Dolomites really Italy trip is the next mountain bike trip we have on the books. I'm pretty sure it's sold out at the moment, but we did recently have a couple cancellations, so there was a couple open spots, but I think they're already gone. I don't know. If you're interested, Jared, put a link in the show notes, please.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. So
Same.
Early September, riding the Dolomites, all those fantastic Italian mountain bike trails.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's going to be
the recent EDR enduro race was in Canazai.
Formerly the EWS.
Yeah, formerly EWS, whatever.
The Val di Fassa?
No, it was in Canazai.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that was maybe the week before or something.
Yeah, it was in Canazai.
Canazai.
Which is in the Dolomites, which looks like maybe an hour at most from where we're going.
Nice.
So similar terrain and stuff, and it's beautiful, and trails look epic, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just Google mountain biking in the Dolomites, like all you see is photos that make you go, whoa,
yeah,
I want to go there.
Yeah. Stoked for that one.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Let's just rip through the next 2 months so we can get there.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, we should jump into one important thing today, which is SRAM just releasing the GX Eagle Access transmission.
Oh, wow. Is that
SRAM
GX T-Type Transmission Eagle Access?
Yeah, SRAM GX Access T-Type. SRAM GX T-Type.
Eagle Access T-Type transmission.
SRAM Eagle EX T-Type Transmission Access.
If you remember, I think it was March, SRAM introduced their quote-unquote transmission drivetrain, which is the hangerless drivetrain system where the derailleur mounts directly to the frame, clamps onto it, does not use a derailleur hanger, and it's compatible with frames that are made around the UDH, the Universal Derailleur Hanger Standard. And that was pretty cool. It's pretty big news. I think some of the, it was a very different look, very different take on how you mount a derailleur to a bike. And I don't know, one of the most amazing things we all noticed off the bat is how quiet it was, but also how you could shift under load, which was amazing. And when they did that, it came out with XX, XXSL,
XX, and XO.
and XO.
Right.
So 3 variants, all super high end.
Yep.
And now it has trickled down to the GX level. Tickle down technology. Yeah, we also have a YouTube video about it if you want to see what it looks like as well. Just a short sort of announcement video that covers all the various details and visually shows you what it looks like, which it actually, for the most part, looks the same, except not the derailleur. They changed where the battery is actually mounted. So instead of mounting and hanging off the back of the derailleur, it's now kind of tucked inside of that little, what would you call that? That parallelogram? That little,
I'd say the upper part of
thingy?
the cage that mounts to the frame. It kind of like sits below the frame now, which is really sleek and actually
kind of looks
arguably better.
Yeah, looks really good.
Which, I mean, I guess they do market GX as the most robust offering that they make. So, yeah, it's more robust.
Like, it even has, do you see it has those little skid plates on the actual derailleur body that you can replace?
Yeah.
It's like, do the other ones have that?
I think XO definitely has that. I'm not sure about XX or XXSL because that is made for weight. Yeah. But, yeah, XO, I believe, has that in GX. Yeah, they call them, like, skid. I think they do call them skid plates. Yeah, for the most part, no, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Cassette looks different.
Cassette looks different. Yeah, a lot of people ask what's the difference between the various drivetrains. We've made videos on that in the past. But it largely boils down to a feature here or there. In this case, I don't really know if there's any features missing.
Yeah, the shifter pod might not have little replaceable rubber pads that the XX and XXSL have. However,
but you can use that pod if you'd want.
You can, and it's the same pod as XO. So features, I don't know if there's any features that's necessarily missing.
Yeah, there used to be occasional things where they would like hold features back if you went higher end, but now it really just comes into like weight and materials, which
I feel like even with the last Axis offerings and even mechanical, GX to XX1 is all the same pretty much. Like it just basically comes down to materials and weight.
Yep. So, and these derailleurs, just like the higher end ones, are pretty modular in the sense that you can replace pieces. So if you just destroy the cage somehow, you can buy a new cage to replace it. Pretty cool. So price point wise, $1,099. That's the group set that comes with a crank set that has a chainring on it, the derailleur, cassette, flat top chain, the pod controller, i.e. shifter, as well as the battery and the charger. So $1,099, definitely more than your regular GX Eagle Access upgrade kit that's non-transmission. But yeah, a way more robust and better product. So it's cool to see that. Again, like all the transmission or T-type stuff, only fits on bikes that use the UDH, the Universal Derailleur Hanger from SRAM. We have an article all about how to figure that out if your bike has that or not, but you probably know if you're a mountain bike nerd enough to listen to the Mountain Bike Podcast. Or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool. The cranks come in 165 as well as 170 and 175. So it's nice to see that SRAM's paying attention to trends and realizing a lot of people are running 165 cranks on enduro bikes, and now they're making their various cranks in that length.
I have XXSL cranks in 165 on my bike.
Yeah. And I have XO.
Yeah, I was kind of pretty shocked to see the weights of all of these parts are not too far off XO. I mean, as a whole, you add up every single part, but, say you have an XO derailleur, you buy a bike with it and you blow it up, which kudos to you because they seem to be pretty hard to break. But if you need a whole new derailleur, going to GX is only 17 grams heavier for a derailleur. And that's where I think, at least for myself, on enduro bikes or e-bikes where I'm smashing derailleurs, I always buy GX derailleurs. I almost never buy XO. I'll buy the nice shifters, I'll buy nice chains, I'll buy nice cassettes.
Yeah.
But I usually go one level down on the derailleur just to, smash it. It doesn't hurt quite as much.
Same.
So and by the data, a lot more people buy the GX level drivetrains than the higher end stuff. Because it's fantastic value for your money. Yep. And if you're looking for fantastic value for your money, that's the one to go with.
Yeah.
If you're looking for the creme de la creme, then of course you go all the way up. But yeah, value for your money, GX absolutely crushes it there. So
definitely.
Yeah. It's nice. Yeah, there's not too much difference in weight. What about cassettes, though?
Because there's a significant
That's
weight.
where the significant weight penalty is going to come into play.
Yeah, the cassette...
Chains a little bit, but it's mostly the cassettes.
The cassette for XO transmission cassette is 379 grams. And for GX transmission cassette is 444. So what is that? 65
Every
grams.
gram counts.
Every gram counts, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Every
the
gram
only...
counts, man.
That's almost the only rotating weight of the whole thing. So 65 grams of rotating weight is, what do they say? 1/3 or 3 times.
3 times.
3 times the weight. So,
But that would be, I think, if it's on the
on the rim
tire,
or tire.
Nipple out,
not
nipple in. That's
Yeah,
different. But no, I agree. I mean, I think if you go, probably one of your best bets is to get the higher end cassette. It's got different materials and it's much lighter. And then you get all the GX, everything else.
Yeah, maybe exo chain because you do get
then you get the hollow pins.
Hollow pin chain, which it also happens to be stronger than solid pin, believe it or not.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it is also black.
It is also
Right.
black.
Yeah.
The exo chain's black.
It looks good.
Yeah, and all this transmission access product from SRAM is all cross-compatible. So any way you want to mix and match the GX, XX, XX, SL, and XO. Nailed it. Yes!
I was thinking you're stuttering
that.
when you go XXXXSL.
Oh, the naming conventions in the bike industry.
XXSL.
They are challenging.
Yep.
I will admit. But yeah, it's pretty big news. Pretty big news from SRAM.
Yeah.
The prior GX Access drivetrain sort of upgrade kit was a massive seller in the industry for the last 3 years. 2.5?
Yeah, what was that, 2020?
years it came out?
Around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this will be equally important and well adopted by people that want the T-type stuff. And yeah, the T-type stuff, man, what really sold me is just how quiet it is. I like that a lot. And then I was riding my bike just yesterday and with mechanical stuff on it and thinking like, you can't really shift under load, but even that delay where the chain goes from one cog to the next, you kind of have to let up there and not put too much pressure on it. Mm-hmm. But there's still just like a gap. Whereas the T-type stuff, there just isn't. Like you can just keep 100% of the power, the whole rotation, and it just shifts.
Yeah, and sometimes it's so smooth, like you're like, wow, did that shift?
Yeah.
Like you have to double check, but wow, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Which I'm glad because once you ride it and get familiar with it, you're like, okay, this is significantly different. This is not just like a rebranding or relabeling or does it just fit differently. Like, no, it actually performs differently.
Yeah, At first, I wasn't like 100% sold that it would be that much different, but after riding it, like it's like okay,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You can slightly change how you ride a bike, especially like in a race scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Like, pretty game changer in a race scenario.
Yeah, I bet
it's like shifting a car without using the clutch. You just slam it.
Whether you're in a sanctioned race or you are just
racing
secretly racing your friend who you've always wanted to beat,
and maybe he doesn't know you're racing, but you're still racing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, Liam. It really is like difference between almost like like a manual transmission and like an F1 style paddle shifter. Yeah, it's like
the other thing with this goes for all of transmission, but 2 weekends ago I did a pretty long climb. It's I think it takes me like over an hour 15 minutes for this climb. I did it on my SB120 with transmission. Didn't really notice anything. I did it the following weekend on my Rail 29 with mechanical X01. Also the different cassette, right? So transmission cassette on the 120, normal Eagle 1052 on the Rail 29. The gaps on the upper end of the transmission cassette are way smoother, way better, and like you find yourself less in between gears.
Well, the actually ratios of all the cogs are different.
Yeah, that's
more
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting to, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks.
the story.
Got to clarify, man. Speaking of clarification, sorry to interrupt, but an SB120 is made by Yeti. It's a 29er, 120 mil travel, sort of lightweight trail bike. Rail 29, made by Revel, is a bigger enduro bike. So, just for those who don't know.
Yeah. 155 mil travel.
155 mil travel.
I just also assumed everyone's a nerd on here knows what bike it is. I'll stop assuming. But yeah, so there you have a 42-52 jump on an old cassette, and now it's like a 46-52, and it's like I found myself bouncing between that 42 and that 52 a lot, just like looking for the in between.
A lot of people did kind of complain about that huge gap. Yeah.
So
nice
transmission, GX Axis.
GX Axis T-Type Transmission.
Pretty cool. Speaking of new products, a couple things that we helped design, seeing as we are co-founders of Trail One Components, some new pedals, Vortex composite pedals, as well as a new pair of grips, the Farlow Gap grips.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything you want to say?
Vortex composite pedal. We set out to make a composite pedal that we felt we wanted to ride. So it's hard to get a composite pedal with all the features that you really want. You're limited by thickness of the actual like composite, the plastic that you're using, and how thin you can go, profile and kind of shape and all that stuff. So we're able to get something that's really cool. It's a like actual flat pedal, so not convex, which most composite pedals are, with a concave pin design. So kind of a mix in there. Good platform size, 105 millimeters by 105 millimeters, 7 metal pins and 2 molded. So we also have a lifetime warranty on them, and you get 1 free rebuild kit per year with purchasing the pedals.
Oof.
So
I like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea was, performance, durability, and serviceability. It's actually really fun, I think, at this stage to be working with, like Liam and I get to work with a really talented engineer to design this stuff. And we all collectively brainstorm and piece these things together. And it's actually really fun. You'd think it would be a challenge sort of trying to design stuff this sort of, I guess you could call late in the game, where it's like flat pedals, grips, like a lot of these things have been pretty optimized to where they are, but that allows us to just look at every tiny little detail of the different ones already in existence that we know are good, and then merge that all into one thing ourselves. That's what we did with the grips. It's what we did with the pedals, and what we're doing with a lot of the Trail One stuff, which is actually pretty fun. Just lets you get more granular, which is actually quite enjoyable. And then with Trail One, there's $1 per set of pedals goes to Ocala, which is a trail network in Florida that maintains and built the Vortex trail. And then same thing, Farlow Gap, that's a trail in Pisgah, North Carolina.
Nice.
So that'll help them build trails as well.
Wow.
So such a fun project. I really enjoy it. But if you're interested in that stuff, feel free to just type in Trail One into the Google machine. The website's trail1.bike. Check out that stuff. We're pretty proud of it.
Wow.
It's come out quite nice.
And then just quick, Farlow Gap grips are a thinner version of our Hell's Gate grips.
Mm-hmm.
So base, pretty much the same overall design, just a little bit thinner with the ribs taken out, and just a thinner package so it fits more regular shaped hands and preferences.
Yeah, I think a lot of that boils back down to preferences, but a lot of people really loved the design of the Hell's Gate grip and everything we did there with the little cushions underneath the metacarpals and the basically the whole layout of the grip. But they're like, I just kind of want a thinner version of this. And I'm like, oh yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are you going to do, Jared? Are you going to keep riding Hell's Gate, or are you going to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to them now. I
think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but the irony is you used to really like thin grips.
Yeah,
well,
I still do.
Yeah, I still do. We came out with Hell's Gate, and I went through that route too. I was like, kind of like the thinner grips, and then I tried some slightly thicker grips, and I was like, wow, these are actually way more comfortable in my hands, especially consecutive days of riding, all of that. So I just learned to like them. And then when you tried the Hell's Gate, this is too thick. I want a thinner one. I was like, okay, well, don't worry. We're working on that too, which is where the Farlow Gap came from. But as the Farlow Gap is in development, Jared realizes like, now I've got used to these Hell's Gate grips and I like this diameter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny how things happen, right?
But you're not the only person, because so many people have said that to me. They're like, man, I first got them and I thought they were kind of too thick, and now I just love them. I can't ride any other grip.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
And I just love the compound. Like how there's a little bit more cushion to them, and they're super soft and grippy, and gloves or no gloves, like I just really like them.
Yep.
And like I definitely noticed in Whistler, you just ride in the bike park like for hours on end, and just like
that's the place where
kind of hanging out. Like
I started liking a little bit thicker grip, because when you have braking bumps or it's just rugged and rough out there.
Yeah.
Like even just the normal trail bike and enduro trails you can pedal up, it's like you get no brakes on your equipment or your body in Whistler and the surrounding area. So it's nice to have grips like that.
Yeah. But I'm going to keep on running those. I mean, I like the Farlow Gaps too. Also on my hardtail, I really like the cushy grips, and
Still loving that hardtail?
Love that hardtail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fun. Honestly, that's probably the bike I like reach for most when I go riding. Just like Sycamore or Dos Vientos, like just kind of is super raw and like,
I'm kind of thinking about
no frills.
Hardtail.
You should do it, man. You should 100% get an El Jefe. It's got your name on it, literally.
So I sold that Salsa Cutthroat, which was a quasi gravel bike, rigid mountain bike.
You're going to get another one, but now you're like, maybe I should get a hardtail.
Yeah, now I'm thinking, because I also got that Revel Rover gravel bike that we got to build up.
Nice.
And I was like, well, if I build that up and then I have another bike that's so similar, just has flat bars, maybe I should just try a hardtail, because I don't know, riding with you on that thing. Like I just could build like a really ultralight hardtail, but that still has decently aggressive geo. Yeah. So I'm thinking about it.
It's the perfect
thinking
Sycamore
about going
bike, man.
hardtail life.
Perfect Sycamore and Dos Vientos bike. Like, I mean, and then it's fun. Like, and then you take out your full suspension and you're like, wow, I have so much travel.
Yeah. It feels different. For sure.
I mean, and then you can ride it. Like, I don't know. When I ride my hardtail, I find myself like working on my fundamentals a lot more, and like actually, taking corners properly, and, and you can just do kind of like dumb stuff where it feels dumber on a hardtail, than on your, trail bike or whatever. But
I like the idea of doing some bike packing too, and hardtails are perfect for that. So
it's very versatile.
I'm considering it because of the versatility.
Yeah, you can lock out the fork, full rigid. It's like you
had a hardtail not that long ago.
Nothing to lose, man.
I did have an El Jefe,
but you never have any bike for very long.
I do have some bikes for a year.
Yeah.
At least he's honest, man. He's a straight shooter, this guy.
Yeah, I mean, a year is a good mark because I get good time on it, and then, I pass it off before it gets too worked and loses value. But yeah, I had the El Jefe, and then I had a Revel Ranger, which I had like built up more as a trail bike. And then I was like, well, I don't ride the El Jefe hardtail that much, and then I wanted to make the Ranger more optimized for the Breck Epic last year, so I've kind of turned it more into like a proper XC style bike. So then they're like really close.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I'll sell the hardtail, ride the Revel Ranger, and then I had a trail bike. So it was cool. Yeah, I just didn't find myself riding it that much, and there's only so much room in my garage, so. Five or six bikes is pretty much the limit right now that I'm holding myself to. So
you're pretty stacked.
Yep.
Pretty stacked. Speaking of stacked.
Oh, listener questions?
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say he also has your gravel bike with a fork that you can put on it, and you can put huge tires on that thing. Like, I can basically have a hardtail.
That 45 is the definition of stacked, man.
Yeah. 45C tires with a little Fox gravel fork on there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty versatile setup.
Yeah. You're obviously not going to go rip like full on, I don't know.
I could if I wanted.
Jumps and drops. You could.
Why not?
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
Why not, bruh?
Probably not flinch at the sight.
No, I definitely would not, though. I'll just grab a full suspension.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, you could still get in enough trouble, have fun, but yeah. Hardtail life, bro.
Back to my stacked comment. The listener questions are stacked.
Yeah, they are.
So, quick intermission and then listener questions.
Bada bing, bada boom.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, this is Craig Federici from Apple. I'm here to let you know last week at Apple Park, we had our Worldwide Developers Conference, and we're really excited about our new Vision Pro. We're looking for developers to help create the world's first augmented reality mountain bike game. If you're a developer and intimately familiar with wearing a VR headset while riding your mountain bike, please email me at craig@apple.com. Thank you.
And now, back to the show.
Listener questions.
Number 1.
Wow.
Budget build.
How to get the most out of your bike without breaking the bank. Wow, I like this. This is really good. Where to optimize your bike for as few bucks as possible.
Well, I have a quick plug.
Okay.
Well, it's not really a plug, but one time at Bandcamp, we spent a lot of time sort of really dissecting and prioritizing how to upgrade your mountain bike and what to do in what order and why. And we made a YouTube video and an article about it.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good. It's called How to Upgrade Your Bike, what to do now, what to do next, all those things.
I'm so glad that you
we put a lot of thought into that.
Remembered, because I was just going to start spouting off.
Random things.
Yeah. Or might as well throw a couple of tips in there while we're here.
Oh, yeah. We will.
Well, what, should you get some brakes, some good stoppers so you don't break the bank?
Yes, Liam. Nice. Yeah. Well, honestly, that's one of the first things I was going to say is upgrade your brakes. Bigger rotors, pads.
I think you gotta
you have to assess your whole bike.
Yeah, you gotta look at the bike.
It's all individualistic.
Yeah, man, that's true.
It's hard.
Yeah, man.
It's a hard thing.
My thought in that video was, what is bothering you the most, if anything?
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel as if your tires are, cheap or bald or deteriorated, then there you go. There's your first upgrade. If you feel like, your controls and your brakes and your derailleur all work good, but maybe the thing that bothers you the most is you feel a little pogo sticky because you got a base model fork or shock, and then suspension might be the most logical first upgrade. So kind of think of what bothers you the most.
Yeah.
And that's probably what you're going to get the most enjoyment and benefit out of upgrading first on.
Yeah. Instead of just getting like a sick $150 CNC machine stem and then be like, wait, it still rides like crap.
Yeah, exactly right.
Still rides the same.
Exactly right. Unless it's a shorter stem, like if your bike came stock with an 80 stem and you throw a different length. But the same length stem, no, you're not going to.
But
that ain't it, bud.
No. They also said budget build. So like if you're building a bike and looking to like where to save some money and then spend the money, maybe that's how this question.
That could be it. Yeah.
Not how to upgrade your bike,
how to get the most out of it.
But
if you're gonna custom build a bike,
if that was the case, I'd say good suspension, good brakes, good tires.
Yep.
Yeah, focus on those.
Those three I think make a huge difference. And honestly, when I build a lot of my bikes, that's where I go high end, and then everything else I kind of go mid tier, like drivetrains and alloy wheels that are good and light, but not like,
because a lot of the other
super
stuff is the
expensive.
stuff that hits diminishing returns.
Exactly.
You know, like a good wheel set versus a absolute top of the line wheel set. Like, yeah, there's a difference, but it's pretty small.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at like really basic low level suspension versus even like the close to top tier stuff, like that's a completely different way the bike rides.
Yeah.
So yeah, same thing with tires and brakes.
Yeah.
So,
You know what brakes I
good
think
call. I like that, Liam. Nice work.
who makes some really good like mid-grade brakes is Magura. Like those MT5s.
MT5s
are solid.
really hard to beat.
Those are really good brakes.
Yeah.
Like I just love the great lever feel and power. Like I don't know. Really solid brakes.
I have
for the
them on
price.
my Ebe,
Nice.
my Forestall, and they work great.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
anything else to add?
Cool. I don't know. I think that's about it for the budget bike build.
Sweet.
I liked Liam's take.
Did you say good pedals? That's pretty clutch.
Yeah.
though.
Contact points.
Contact
Yeah,
points.
good
Pedals and
contact
grips.
points.
Pedals and
Yeah.
grips. Those are
grips.
almost a given though, right?
Yeah.
To some extent.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet.
Contact points with your body and with the ground.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a good question here. I like using O-Chain on my longer travel bike. I'm curious to try the new SRAM transmission, and I'm wondering if there's a way to use SRAM transmission with an O-Chain today, or if there's something that is actually non-compatible from a chainline or chainring perspective that would prevent this. And Liam, you said you were kind of checking this out a little bit before the podcast.
Yeah, where I spoke with O-Chain when transmission first came out, and they're in process of making it, and I just looked, and they do have a O-Chain Spider that is now transmission compatible, which basically means you need a 8-bolt SRAM crank or chainring pattern O-Chain mount.
So basically the newer
I get
crank.
lost.
I think you said it right.
Did I get lost in the sauce?
No, I think you got it.
O-Chain
Okay.
makes their own base. It's a spider
Correct.
basically that attaches to the new SRAM transmission cranks via the 8-bolt pattern.
Yeah, SRAM moved from 3-bolt, as of they've done for the last
Who knows how long?
8 years,
I don't know why
to
they did that.
8-bolt. We don't really know why, but it does
What
require
was
new
the point
chain
of that?
rings and therefore a new spider. So O-Chain made an 8-bolt, and it is available on their site. So all you would need is that O-Chain, and then get a 104 BCD chainring narrow wide that is transmission compatible,
Right.
and you'd be good to go. And they make all that. So
And you know exactly why they did that. It is to completely erase all of the backwards compatibility that there would have been.
Yeah, you think that's what they would say?
Oh, it's a little
I think SRAM's marketing speak would say exactly that. It's so we could erase the backwards compatibility.
You think
They
we'd
did-
make it that easy?
they did only make their power meter cranks 8-bolt for the past couple years.
Probably for the same, maybe. And that I honestly could see, like,
Yeah,
for some reason.
that's also
I'm sure they
road.
have some
So
reason.
now everything uses between road, mountain, and gravel uses the same 8-bolt pattern. But yeah, who
Yeah,
knows?
that
Yeah.
3-bolt, 8-bolt thing was confusing because there wasn't an issue. It wasn't as if people were having issues with that at all.
No.
No.
So that wasn't even a if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like it's not only is it not broke, but it's not inferior. It's not. It's perfect. It's
In
fine.
fact,
Like,
it's
there's-
5 less bolts
I,
that
I,
you need.
I was
even
going to
need
say
to be.
it is 5 less bolts that you need.
The question is, how many people are just going to run the 8-bolt and only put 3 bolts in there and just go on with their life?
Oh,
It's like how some people run 3 bolts on their 6-bolt.
yeah,
rotors.
man.
That's sus.
Every gram counts.
That is
Even
super
when I was a
sus.
weight weenie racing XC, I'd see people do 3 bolts. I'm like, I'm just going to run 6, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's like 10 extra grams.
Yeah.
I can handle that.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, for context too, we've talked about O-Chain a number of times on this podcast, but if you're not familiar with it, it is a device that bolts onto your crank, and it how do you describe that? It creates a little bit of play before your pedal engages, and that way when your suspension activates and can pull backwards on your chain, i.e. chain growth, that doesn't affect your cranks and your
Yeah.
pedals.
Or essentially give you pedal kick back, which makes your suspension feel stiffer.
Eliminates kickback. How does
So-
O-Chain describe this? It's a hard thing to.
I think that's pretty much exactly how they
They
describe
don't
it.
say
Is like,
play though. They
Yeah,
have their
I
own
don't think
term.
they say play.
Yeah.
They probably say
I want to
something.
say it's a floating
They call it
spider.
active spider.
Yeah.
active
active
spider.
spider, yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, and we do have another podcast where Nico talked pretty in depth about running O-Chain versus running a high pivot with an idler and all that. And he ended up running a bike basically designed around O-Chain, so you could run a bike with a little bit more pedal kickback and chain growth, but not quite enough to run a idler and have it as sort of a mid-high pivot. So
Yeah, it is an interesting concept. This O-Chain says it much more clearly and concisely. It says freedom to go beyond pedal kickback and experience the chainless feeling. So but that also means you know what the chainless feeling is.
Yeah.
So if actually it's a really fun thing to do with your bike. Take your bike, ride a familiar trail that you always go downhill on, and take your chain off and zip tie your derailleur so it doesn't bounce around, and see how your suspension behaves. Because some suspension designs, most of them, have some level of chain growth, meaning there's a little bit of pedal kickback when the suspension goes throughout its travel, and riding that same suspension with no chain versus a chain, you can experience that. And O chain is supposed to create that chainless feeling. So
yeah,
a little techie. So if you're really interested in this stuff, check out that podcast with Nico, which was like episode 92 or
91 maybe. And then also, I thought it was the more recent one that he kind of went more in depth on that, but I could be wrong. One when he was actually
we've done a couple with Nico. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there you go. Check out O-Chain.
That is a really cool, interesting product for the people that want that chainless feeling.
Super cool. Next question. If you had to eat a crayon straight from the box, which color are you going for?
A crayon.
Yeah.
Like a kid's coloring crayon.
Like a Crayola.
I could never say that when I was a kid.
Crayola?
I still have trouble.
Crayola?
No.
Crayon.
What's
the fact? They're edible? Crayon. They got to be edible.
Well,
none of us have kids.
I think
Michael?
they're mostly wax.
Are crayons edible?
I don't think so, no.
He doesn't think so.
I think they're mostly.
So don't eat the crayon. Anytime they're in his kid's mouth, he takes them out, he says.
Yeah, they're wax.
Well, I would pick the yellow.
Oh, it's non-toxic. You just might get an upset tummy.
Oh.
Is what they say.
Okay.
That's with most food that we eat.
Yeah.
Or general people eat.
Here, this one says, if ingested, will largely act like a mild laxative.
Oh.
Well, I mean, wax lubricates
that is one
the system.
solution if you don't have laxatives at home and you have crayons.
You're more at risk from choking on it.
I'm going to go for
as long as you chew.
Red or purple.
Oh, nice.
I think those would have too rich of flavors, whereas the yellow would have more of a light.
But see,
you want a more zesty, citrusy flavor?
Citrus flavor,
is yellow lemon or banana? And artificial banana is just kind of bunk.
Yeah.
To me, it's better than artificial cherry or strawberry, though.
Artificial strawberry or artificial grape, I think, are way better.
Yeah, I was going to go purple. For that's
Perp skirt.
Pretty much when I went straight forward.
The things mountain bikers learn on the MTB podcast: crayons can be eaten and react as a mild laxative.
So
next
now
question.
They start flavoring them.
This is actually a good question. What's your favorite chain lube for SoCal wet and dry conditions?
You skipped one.
We'll answer this. Yes, you did.
Yeah, but we'll answer that. Go ahead, Liam.
I'm excited about the chain lube question.
Do you know what chain lube you use on your bikes, Jeff?
Squirt.
Okay.
Nice.
I have to lube my chain sometimes when no one's around to lube my chain. Yesterday, I changed my whole cockpit.
I know. I'm really sorry about that.
And put on a water bottle cage.
No, you didn't.
I totally messed up. I blanked it. Monday was kind of a pinner of a day, and he asked me to put the trail and cockpit on the Banshee I was going to ride. And I remembered halfway up my whole end on my road ride and going, I forgot to set up Jeff's bike. I almost chatted you sorry in the middle of the ride.
Oh,
totally forgot.
It's always in the funniest places you remember stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
In the shower, just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, I went down a bit of a chain lube rabbit hole last year. Got super into like zero friction facts and all these friction websites and Silka and all this stuff, going down the rabbit hole, and kind of just came to the fact that Squirt is kind of the best lasting. It's liquid wax, meaning you put it on and it's wet, and then you let it actually fully dry. Like best is to do overnight, and then it's almost a dry wax.
That's one of the cons to that lube is that you can't really put it on right before the ride.
That is correct.
Yeah. You got to put it on the night before.
But when you do it properly, you fully degrease your chain, you put it on with proper coats. I think it lasts the longest. It's quiet. It has a very low friction rating, and it's not super expensive like some of the other, ones like Silka or Ceramic Speed that are just ridiculously expensive for chain lube. So yeah, Squirt is what I recommend for dry SoCal conditions.
Not to be confused with the beverage.
The beverage.
Yeah.
What is that, like a lemon lime, like a
Sprite
type beverage?
Sprite type beverage.
Yeah.
I will say that, I am impressed with that Squirt stuff. I think it's slightly annoying you got to put on the night before. However, It does last really long.
Yeah.
It is quiet, and it doesn't attract any dirt. And that's like mud. It's also versatile in that sense. That like it works perfectly good in a bunch of creek crossings in mud as well as dust.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't work quite as well when you start getting it wet and through a ton of creek crossings. However, if you're not riding a ton of that, it still works well. Like I use it whenever we travel, and we were in Colorado last summer and hit 10 creek crossings a day and still had quiet drivetrains, and people next to us did not. So
Yeah. Nice.
Squirt.
I like the Muck Off Bio Dry. I've just been getting that
Second
one.
best.
Second best.
Yeah.
And
that
one
is
I,
good.
I don't always have the presence of mind to lube my chain the night before.
Yeah, that's a good go-to when you got to do it the morning of.
You know what I do? I do it immediately after I finish riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart.
You just literally, before I put my bike up on the wall, and it's so clean. Like, Squirt's so clean. It's literally like 2 or 3 back pedals, put it back on, another 2 or 3 back pedals, and on the wall, good to ride next time. Super easy.
That's pretty good.
It's an admirable level of discipline you have there, Mr. Woods.
It sure is. Speaking of
let's
discipline,
go to the question that I skipped.
how heavy is too heavy? I live in Central Florida. The trails I ride are mostly punchy climbs, steep drops, as well as roots and chunk. And he's currently riding a 35.8 pound Marin Alpine Trail XR because he, bought it because of spec. And long story short, thought he's going to be riding at other places, but wondering if he would benefit from ditching the steed and getting something carbon with maybe 120 to 130 mil travel and obviously less weight. I checked out this bike and it's got like a Lyric and a coil shock, and I think it's alloy frame and, kind of a beefy rig.
So it's a big dog.
It's a beefy rig. Yeah. So, I could see that like living in Florida, it could be a little overbiked. But I thought, personally, I was like, kind of sounds like the perfect place to have like a Ranger or an SP120.
Yeah, I'm going to say a lot of what you feel isn't necessarily the overall weight of the bike, but the platform of the bike.
Right.
You can have a Ranger 120 or, a shorter travel bike still at 32, 33 pounds.
Yeah, for sure.
But the platform's going to feel better than something that is, a long-legged, 150 rear travel.
Yeah.
Coil shock.
Right.
So the weight is definitely part of it, but the platform, I'd say, is equally as big of a factor, if not maybe bigger than weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I think what he's riding now, he could probably have a couple sets of wheels, like buy another set of wheels that had way lighter tires and rims on it.
Yeah.
And when he's going to go ride stuff where he knows is not super chunky and gnarly and or high speed, like run your super light wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're going to go to a bike park or somewhere that's a little bit more rugged, then run your more durable wheels with heavier tires. Because that to me makes a huge difference. Like having a lightweight tire and rim just makes the bike feel like it spins up to speed faster, rolls faster, really changes the feel of a bike. And it's just the wheels. It's not like an entire bike.
And maybe if you do have a coil shock, and air shock might also help your case of pedaling a little bit more efficiently.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that too, maybe.
But
stiffen it up a little bit and
I don't know.
A little more supportive pedaling.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
There you go.
I don't know. I'm also a weight weenie, so hard to imagine riding a 36-pound bike. Seems a lot.
What does your Banshee weigh?
Isn't it like 30, 31?
31.
31.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a full-fledged enduro bike.
Nice.
So I don't know. I like bikes being lighter, but it just depends on the use case.
And it also depends on I think this is a huge part of like e-bikes and different categories of e-bikes, but how much do you weigh as a rider? Because Jeff and I at 150, 155 pounds that ride a 30-pound bike has a much different ratio than Jared, or what, 185, 190?
Mm-hmm.
At 30 pounds, you have a 40 more pounds on us.
Yeah.
I don't know what percentage that is, but it's like 25% more weight on the same bike. That's a big difference. So.
Yeah, that's true. Never really thought about that.
Yeah.
For you guys. Well, there you go. How about this one?
Tire pressure.
Tire pressure. I've been riding bikes for just over 20 years. Tire pressure is never really something I paid attention to. Usually just set it and forget it. Currently running 23 in front, 25 in the rear, weigh about 170 with gear. Lives in Washington, D.C. area. Lots of hard pack and a mild drought right now. Dusty and slippery. He's noticing that he's kind of sliding out in the rear, and he's wondering if he should increase or decrease pressure to help with the situation, get a little more grip.
He's also running a Delium Steady 2.4 all-around casing with a Cushcore insert, which is a pretty good intermediate tire. I think the Steady is like a little bit more than like a Maxxis Recon, maybe not quite as much as like a Maxxis Aggressor. I think it's right in that zone.
Yeah, that's a pretty good all-around
trail tire. And a Cushcore insert. I don't know. I say if I had to guess, I'd say you're kind of in the ballpark of your rear and front pressure for your weight.
Not off. As long as he's checking it, 23, 25, it's not bad. I mean,
maybe a couple lower if you want a little bit more. I don't know.
You could go 22, 27.
A couple more.
In the back.
Oh, you think that'll help with his grip situation?
That might make it slide a little more.
Yeah.
Oh, he has no traction in the back as well?
Yeah,
traction in the
back. More
back.
about the front.
In the back.
In the back.
Jeff doesn't like traction in the back, so
I wouldn't go lower
than
than 25 in the back.
Yeah, going lower than 25 at 170.
Just a lot of weight on that rear tire, even climbing or descending. Like, just always a lot of weight on the rear tire. Going below 25, like even if you can get away with it, like there's not really any performance benefits to that.
Yeah, I rarely run under 25 psi, and I'm 150 pounds.
Yeah,
and that's only if I'm like super XC riding, and I know the terrain's pretty mellow. I'll go like 24. Otherwise, I'm 26 and up in the rear, personally. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe let it drift out a little bit more and keep that front tire gripping, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's too far off by any means.
No, he's right.
I mean, the reality is like it doesn't, you know, when you're riding dry, dusty, loose over hard packed trails, like you're just gonna slip around here and there.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Part of the sport. Doesn't matter who you are or how good you are. Like it's just part of the deal. You can work on your, you know, climbing position and braking technique and things like that to try and get better at that stuff, which is always a helpful thing to do. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can go watch the fastest guys in the world go uphill or downhill, and they're going to have the same situations on that type of terrain. So, just got to get used to it a little bit and work around it. But I don't think he's too far off pressure wise.
You might have fun just trying 24 psi, 25 psi, 26 psi, 27, and run the same trail over and over and change 1 psi per run and see if you do notice a difference, because that's a lot of his preference too in your riding style. So you might notice, 27 psi, you have more control because your tire's not rolling around or something.
Yeah. Experimentation is key.
Yeah, especially with
fun.
that.
It's like part of what makes mountain biking fun. It's like go out, write down what you did one day, go out the next weekend and write down what you're doing this time and see how different it is and if you like it or don't like it.
Yeah, and tire pressure and suspension pressure literally costs nothing to adjust and mess with. So
yeah,
that is very true.
True. Yeah, but if you do feel like spending money, I guess you could try a different tire. I mean, a wider tire, maybe.
Yeah, it's got a good tire.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to say it's a bad tire at all, or too narrow or too fat. So
yeah. For those who aren't familiar with Delium, they make really, really surprisingly good quality tires for an unbelievably good price point. Like in the $55 range, they're somewhere close to half the price of all the other big name brands out there. Fairly new tire company as well, and definitely impressive tires that are extremely value friendly, wallet friendly, value priced.
Wallet friendly.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, we have those on the site.
Yeah, we do.
Actually, I was mistaken. The Steady is very similar to a Hans Dampf.
There you go.
Yeah, so good tire though.
Yeah, nice.
Cool.
Next question is the single most important innovation of the industry and why?
Is this a past innovation?
I would assume so.
Yeah. You'd think that's what that was meant. I don't know. That's a challenging one because a lot of the stuff has been dropper post seems to be the one that is like so substantial.
Yeah. It's kind of changed.
I mean, you could say like suspension though.
Yeah.
But at the same, like if you think of a fully rigid bike versus a bike with suspension, like that is one major difference. Yeah.
Or a fully rigid with a drop post or without a drop post.
I was literally just going to say that. It'd be a fun race to do like fully rigid with a dropper versus a, 100 mil bike or something suspended with no dropper and how much faster you can go.
Right.
I would almost argue dropper would make a bigger difference.
Yeah. I mean, definitely for confidence downhill at least.
Yeah.
And depends on the terrain, but yeah.
Oh, disc brakes were another pretty massive innovation as well.
Disc brakes were huge.
Yeah.
And then I don't know.
Disc brake, suspension, and dropper.
Tubeless is still pretty slotting in maybe in that fourth zone.
One by.
It's definitely nice, but it doesn't make or break a lot of
I don't think any of those come close to disc brake, suspension, and droppers, though.
Yeah, but like
I still don't care about riding. Like I could ride tubes right now and not really think it was that big of a deal.
Until you run through goat heads and you get a flat and have to change your tube.
Yeah, I mean, that's annoying. There's like barely any goat heads, you know, in the mountains. Like they're on the road on their way there, but yeah, I don't know. You still get flat tires. It's not like it fixed that whole problem.
Man, I got a small little puncture on my road bike over the weekend. I was in a group ride and they're like, oh, you have sealant spraying up. And I was like, oh, it might seal. And then like a minute or two later, like, it's not sealing. And I was like, all right. I'm going to stop.
A total mess. Sprays over everything.
I pulled over real quick, pulled out my Dynaplug, saw there's a little piece of glass in there, and was like, I'm on a group ride. I'm not going to make everyone wait. Stabbed the Dynaplug in there.
Yeah.
Put it up, and I was rolling before the front of the group even like figured out that we had to stop for a flat. Because they take a while. They're like, flat, 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 you know, and people are still kind of slow rolling. And I was like rolling up and like, no, we're good. Let's go. And it's like, dude, you can't do that with tubes.
Yeah.
I was in and out of that thing in 30 seconds.
Oh, I definitely don't think it's definitely a very, very relevant innovation, but in terms of
tire technology in general, I mean.
Yeah. In terms of mountain biking, like I could still go out and ride with tubes in right now and wouldn't be the end of the world, but I'm certainly not going to go out with no dropper post or on a rigid or whatever. Well, I did have a rigid.
Yeah, you did.
Different situation.
Unless
I want it to
a
be.
rigid with dropper and tubeless.
Yeah. What about geometry? I don't know. Is that really an innovation or just a evolution?
Evolution.
Evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. This leads good into this next question. How nice of a bike do you need?
The nicest one ever. And buy it from Worldwide Cycling.
Yeah. For example, I ride gnarly stuff, have a specialized status 160.
An X drivetrain, 36 rhythm, DPX2, Kodar brakes.
I mean, that's already a pretty nice bike.
That's a pretty
like
solid
a
bike.
really nice bike.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, especially for riding black and double black trails, like you're saying, like, getting a lot nicer stuff, especially like drivetrain, isn't going to make a huge difference. I'd say, kind of going back to what we just said, Kodar brakes, Kodar C brakes and proper rotors will make a good difference. And 36 rhythm, if you put a Grip 2 damper in there, that'd make a really good controllable like difference in the way your fork feels. So
yeah.
But I mean, that's a perfect like mid-level bike, and like going up, kind of what we're saying, you're going to see some diminishing returns. So
yeah,
you know what's bothering you is
just upgradable. You know,
yeah, you can have a great bike and slowly upgrade it. That's half the fun of the sport, and you know, do what financially makes sense for you as well.
Yeah.
we don't advise going into debt to get a nice bike.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
the reality is you can have fun on anything. You know, like you can still get out there and have fun. So if the situation is you got to have a cheesy, cheap bike, then like you can still go out there and have fun and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yeah. Just get another bike. Have to get it. Get another bike. Yeah. Get another bike.
Bikes are good. It's fun to have nicer ones, but it's still fun to just ride them in general. So focus on getting a good one.
It is.
Well, gents, you want to rip through this last question in 10 seconds?
I think this is a great question. Okay, so basically these guys are talking about the cost of bike parts these days and why certain things cost so much. He broke his dropper lever. His buddy said you get the PNW Loam because it's really nice. And this guy said that's ridiculous how expensive it costs. And his buddy says, well, it's super high quality and it's got warranty and like what more do you want? And basically they're arguing about why bike parts cost so much.
One friend says it's $5 in materials and it's a waste of money.
If only if it was that simple.
Yeah. And the other
everyone's just driving Lamborghinis in the bike industry because we have a massive margin on all these parts.
Yeah. I mean, I'll happily answer this since I'm pretty deep in this.
It's just uninformed.
Yeah, pretty deep in this with Trail 1. You're correct that the actual dropper lever might only cost $5 in material. That's raw material, not machined. Not any tooling fees, any programming fees, the engineer to design it. So that all costs
warehousing,
money.
Operations, logistics,
before
the entire bill of materials full of all the other small things also included in the lever.
Before you even make the lever, you know, you have all this cost up front to get it made, and then afterwards you have to have boxes. You have to ship this and package it across the ocean into the United States. Then distribution, warehousing, like Jeff said. So, I mean, he's not really wrong. Yeah, technically the raw materials might only be $5, but like that's
Anyone who ever says that type of thing, like, just don't really have full context and understanding of what's going on behind the scenes. And a way for them to learn that is you could just say, I understand. See if you can make it for $5, good sir.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
make it yourself for $5.
Well, I don't have the machine.
It costs $250,000 for a CNC machine?
And that's a low end one. $500,000 for the one that's going to make this part. Yeah.
People say that stuff all the time when people, how expensive is that bike? Oh, it's $7,000. Oh, my, $7,000? I could buy a Honda Civic for that price.
Yep.
Okay, well,
you could.
Anyways, how's baseball going these days? Like, it's just, I don't know. I just changed the topic. I don't even care to talk on that situation.
Yeah. I mean, definitely there's points on both ends of the argument, but like, it's just like you said, it's a lack of information. Like
material cost is like 10% of the equation.
Yeah. And then you got people working at PNW. You got to have people shipping these things out. You know,
there's all sorts of input costs into this.
Yeah.
But, like the more you get into the world of business and manufacturing in particular, the more you understand all this stuff and what actually goes into creating products of any kind.
Yeah. Marketing, I mean, all sorts of costs.
Just making sure people know it and can buy it and have a warranty on it and companies stand behind it.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, a quick note. We did talk about toilet paper rolls and having your toilet paper waterfall forward at you or
and how ridiculous it would be
the back
if it was off the back. But we were, not informed. There is a method to madness.
Yeah, the commenters will always tell you. And I read this comment. I was like, this guy has a good point. This guy's right.
So
slightly, I don't really see how rolling around the back's going to fix this guy's issue. I was thinking cat will still just do it.
It will, but it will just roll around and it'll be on top.
The cat will hit the front of it like this.
Yeah.
And then if it's rolled in the back, it won't unravel all over the ground. Something like a kid could do too. So like if you bump a toilet paper roll that's facing backwards, it won't unravel all over the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we've just never had to worry about
this. You spin it, but if the cat got the little thing,
if it got on the other side,
it's still gonna.
But it's also hidden for the cat too, right? Like the cat would have to go up and behind it to get the thing back there. So it makes sense. Like if you have a cat and if you have kids that are bumping the thing all the time, then you'd want to run your toilet paper
around the back,
reverse waterfall around the back.
Reverse waterfall.
Well, he's also surprised Jared's dad is a dentist, and he said, now I understand the Yeti. Apology if he overstepped. Nope, that's all in line, bud. Keep them coming.
Good, you're good, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out.
If you've listened this far, we genuinely appreciate it. It would mean the world to us if you would leave a review, in particular on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you have any questions, we look at these all the time. Podcast at Worldwide Cyclery. Send them via email. And I don't know. Anything else?
Good night and good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. See you in the next one.
Cheers.